North against Carrollton Newman Smith for their opening game of the season, 34-17, the final score. I'm joined with a very happy head coach, Mike Fecci. And Coach, overall, very complete performance from your team, both on offense and on defense. Really solid performance.
It was a good night for us. Good night for us. We played well in all phases of the game. I thought we controlled the ball well on our offense, and I thought we stepped up on defense when we needed to, had some big fourth down stops and caused some turnovers and scored some points on defense as well. So, all in all, it was a great night and a great win for our program.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights of the McKinney North game against Carrollton Newman Smith. And you start out in the first quarter, you get an early 3-0 lead after a De La Rosa field goal. And he made a couple in this game, really impressive as far as that goes. And early on, it was a struggle for both teams really get points. You get a couple key fourth down stops against Newman Smith.
Right, that was a big fourth down stop we just saw right there for us, the ball on our own end, and then allowed our offense to go out. We put a great first drive together. We had to come out of it with the field goal, which we much rather would have had the touchdown, but it was a great first drive.
The man that catch the pass right there, Kervin Parks, he had a nice game, 7 catches, 76 yards.
Yeah, Kervin had a great game. Here's the other fourth down stop in our own end. Guys flying to the football and doing what we want. But yeah, Kervin had a great ball game for us.
Back here, Carrollton Newman Smith to pass, and you're going to get an interception return for a touchdown on the screenplay.
Yeah, Jomar Davis did a great job of sniffing that screen out and then taking it to the house and give us a 10-0 lead at that point. So that was huge.
A big play there, and they get a field goal to cut it to 10-3 to end the second quarter. Beginning of the third quarter, they start to come back at you. They even the score at 10-all. But you're able defensively to hang in there to set up for Ronald Jones.
Yeah, we were able to get the ball down the field, and defense made some big stops, and our offense was able to kind of do what you see right here and just pound the ball right downhill and control the clock. And it was a big second half for us.
And the second half seemed to be all Ronald Jones. Even here on this fourth down play, you decided to go for it on a fake punt that worked nicely.
Yeah, we were down by 7 right here, and it was a 4th and 2, and they had the alignment lined up that we thought we could get it, and we knew if we could go down and score and put the game out of reach. And that's what happened. It was a great job by Ronald and our punt team right there.
And Ronald finished with 23 carries, 214 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was all Ronald Jones in that offensive line in the second half.
Yeah, Ronald Jones did a great job. He really did. And our offensive line, kind of started taking the ball game over late, and just creating some big giant running lanes. And right here, those 2 other running backs are in. And, anytime you can just go right down the heart like that, that's big and it's nice. It was good.
End up having 24 unanswered points from that 10-all score early in the third quarter to take a 34-10 lead in the game. They score 1 touchdown late, but you win 34-17. Great performances all around. Of course, running the ball, Ronald Jones, as we've said earlier, here's his final touchdown of the night. I want to talk about your quarterback play, too. You didn't have to throw it a lot with Ben Ducey and Gabe Constantine, but each threw high percentage completion-wise, and they didn't necessarily get a ton of yards, but they kept your drives going.
They did. We were able to convert on some big third downs. They made really good decisions throwing the football. If it was there, they took it. If it wasn't, they didn't force it, and that's what we want them to do. The way Newman Smith was playing us, they weren't going to let us get behind them, because we've been able to do that in some of our scrimmages to get behind people in the secondary and get big, long gains through the air. So they were kind of playing a softer look, not letting that happen. So in turn, when people do that, it allows Ronald and the other running backs, Trey and KJ, to hopefully have a big night. And, and that's what happened. But, yeah, our quarterback play was solid. I was proud of both of them.
And defensively, able to put a lot of pressure on Brown back there as their quarterback. He was only 11 for 20 in the game. And defensively, altogether, you created 4 turnovers in that game, and one of those being a point on special teams where you kick it off and just send it into that little area. They have trouble fielding the ball, and you're able to get it back.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point for us late. Rowe was able to kick it over there in the hole, and Tyler Files was flying down the field and made a great athletic play to just snatch the ball up, and we were able to go back on offense. But, turnovers are big. We were able to force a lot of them. And anytime you have a turnover in the kicking game, it's even magnified. And that was what the case was. So we were really happy with that.
Now, normally in a 34-17 win, you feel like everything was working for you, but one area of the game you struggled a little bit with, and you could have won by more if it wasn't for these 19 penalties for 155 total yards. What was the cause, you think, of majority of those?
part of it was some first game penalties that you'll find. They were all effort penalties. They were no what we call dumb penalties. They were just people giving great effort, maybe not moving their feet when they blocked and getting called for holding, or we got one penalty where we kicked off, and the running back, the guy who was running the ball, was getting tackled, and two of our defensive players were so excited to get on the field that they ran out there, and the play wasn't done yet, so we got a legal participation penalty. Stuff like that. It's all stuff that's fixable. But you're dead on right. I mean, that's something we addressed and talked about on Saturday. Was we can't expect to get that many penalties and beat people week in and week out. I expect that to be vastly different this week. They're all things we've made point of emphasis on and we worked on, and we will continue to work on. But we overcame them, and we'll learn from them, and we'll go from there.
One thing I did notice about your team watching those highlights is, especially when you got those fourth down stops, the motion of your team, they were pumped up and ready to go. You saw them getting the crowd involved into the game. That's the type of energy that you really need moving forward.
There's no doubt. And credit to our fans. I mean, they showed up. We had a great crowd there for us. Student section was packed. They were on their feet and cheering. And, our principals were doing push-ups when we scored. And it was a really exciting atmosphere for us and for our kids. And, we have to play the game that way. We have to play with emotion. And, we stress that and preach it. And, we tell them, hey, when we do something big, let's get excited about it. And our defense did. Our offense did as well. When we scored, those linemen were going down there, and Ronald was giving them pats on the hat and things like that. But those fourth down stops were huge for us because they were both in, our own end, chance for them to continue a drive, and we snuff them both out. And you're going to have to play with emotion. I was real proud of them for that.
Confidence-wise, this was a big win for your team because last year you had to wait till district play to get your 3 wins on the season. For the first time in a while, they start off 1-0 on the season. They have a high win percentage. They're not trying to fight back towards 500.
Right.
Moving forward, this is a big win.
It's a huge win. It's been a long time. I think it's been 6 or 7 years. We think it's been 6 or 7. We can't remember exactly. That's how long it's been since we won our first game of the year. So, our kids feel good about themselves, and we had a great weekend. We had a good practice yesterday, getting ready for Prosper. But, now hopefully we can carry that momentum into Prosper because we're going to definitely need it over there.
Talking about Prosper coming up, they are definitely going to bring their A-plus game against you after the heartbreaking way they ended up losing their game. They scored with 2 seconds left. They just need the extra point to tie it up against Keller. And they had a penalty for spiking the ball in the end zone, and that led to a longer than normal extra point attempt. They missed it to lose the game that way. So they got something to prove, and they've lost a lot of talent from last year's team, but they still have a lot coming back. They're a very solid team.
Very, very solid team. And our message to our kids on Monday morning yesterday was they're not going to overlook you. That there's no chance that Prosper is going to walk into us Friday night and be overlooking us for any shape, form, or fashion. It's a great program with a lot of tradition. Coach Scott and his coaches do a phenomenal job, and they will ratchet all of those things down, and they will come out Friday, their first home game, and be ready to go. And we'll have to match that. It'll be our first time to go on the road this season, and go play in a different venue. It's a neat venue. It's a smaller stadium. It'll be jam-packed. It'll be really exciting for our kids. And to speak to them this year from last year, yeah, they lost some key players from last year with the Hunter kid and the Webb kid, but they're very, very big up front. Their offensive line is giant. Their defensive line is giant. And they do stuff right. They don't do a lot of different things, but what they do really well, and they're very fundamentally sound. And we'll have to be the same against them.
Offensively, the key for you is going to be trying to establish Ronald Jones and having that offensive line, be able to push back that defensive line. When you go up against a type of team that has more size on that side of the field, what do you do as a slightly smaller team to try and create those gaps?
Well, I think when you're speaking offensively, what we try to do is we try to gain double teams where we can gain them up front. We got to be able to throw the football effectively to loosen them up where they can't put all those guys down on the box. And defensively, what we have to do is we have to keep our pad level down up front. I mean, and we've preached all week long to our defensive linemen that if you get your pads high, you're going to go for a ride. And hopefully we'll keep our pad level down and tackle well. We tackled better last Thursday night than we did in our scrimmage, but still not near as good as we as a staff want us to. And we'll have to continue to work on that. So we got to tackle well. We got to keep our pad level down and use leverage and use our quickness up front. I mean, we're not near as big as them on their offensive line to our defensive line, but hopefully our athleticism and our quickness can kind of counterbalance that, and then it just comes down to who makes the most plays.
Well, Coach, good luck with next week's game against Prosper, trying to go 2-0, and thanks again for stopping by to talk about Carrollton Newman Smith. It will be Friday night at 7 o'clock at Prosper. McKinney North Bulldogs looking to go 2-0 on this season. It's a tough challenge, but as they've proved in their first game of the year, they're up for it.